So there's an overwhelming favorite on who Jags fans want the Jaguars to draft at pick number 17 in the upcoming NFL draft. Let's talk about it. Now, this video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Guys, Super Bowl Sunday is coming up, and it is a great time to be able to put a little bit of money on this game, whether you want to put down $10 or wherever you want to go all the way up to 100, 500, whatever. Super Bowl Sunday is the best time, especially when you don't have a team in the game and you have no skin in the game, I should say. It makes it a little bit more interesting. And look, Underdog Fantasy has a Super Bowl special for you guys. All verified accounts are going to be eligible to win up to $1 million on Sunday. So sign up using my promo code UCFJAG. That's going to double your first deposit up to $100. And I did go ahead and put my picks up on a screen for you guys. If you guys want to check them out, I got 5 different guys going. Just hit higher and lower on different stat lines, and you have a chance to win big. So big shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Supporting the sponsors helps also support this channel. So definitely hit my promo code UCFJAG to double up your first deposit up to $100. And now let's talk about this upcoming draft. Now, I put out a tweet on Twitter just trying to kind of get the consensus, or not necessarily even a consensus, just kind of see what Jaguar fans are feeling like this upcoming draft. Where do Jaguars want to go? And I put out the question, who you guys want right now on February 7th, the Jaguars to draft on the number 17 overall pick in this upcoming NFL draft? And I would say 80 to 90% of people said JPJ. Okay, JPJ. You know what that stands for? That is Jackson Powers Johnson. Who is that? He's a center from Oregon, and he's widely viewed as the best center in this upcoming draft. Now, you don't really know how important a center is until you don't really have one, and that's kind of a lot of things in life. You don't really, understand how important power steering is until it goes out in your car. You don't really understand how important caffeine is until you had to go without caffeine for a while, okay? And the Jaguars have had some good centers and really over the past course of their history. I mean, the Jaguars had Brad Meester for a long time. Then they moved on and went to Brandon Linder, who was also a great center, albeit he was injured a lot. He was a great player when he was on the field. And then they moved on to Luke Fortner in 2022. And while Luke Fortner had a little bit of a rough rookie year, we thought that, hey, if he can just get a little bit better, we should be good there. But he nosedived. I mean, he was bad in all categories. His football IQ was bad. His technique was bad. His he didn't really have very good strength. It was just all the different boxes that you'd want to check off for, a center or just offensive lineman in general. He just didn't have those traits. The only thing he did was stay healthy. Okay, he was available, which I don't think that's something Brandon Linder really ever did. But I digress. So with the it's just funny. So the Jaguars, like I said, this Luke Fortner was so bad where Jaguar fans are clamoring for the Jaguars to select a center in the first round of the draft. After picking an offensive lineman in the first round of 2023, Jags fans are wanting to draft a center in the first round. That's kind of crazy. But, we all saw how bad the trenches were last year. And a little bit about him. He went to the University of Oregon. He is 6'3", 320 pounds. He's 21 years old. And really, he was a pretty high draft prospect going into this offseason. But he really shot up the boards after the Senior Bowl. And I think now that teams are kind of paying a little bit more attention to him, and maybe even now that the analysts and draft people are kind of listening to maybe some of the scouts and GMs clamoring, he's starting to shoot up the draft boards, and he's kind of a popular player to get mocked to the Jaguars at pick number 17. And like I said earlier, he's viewed as the best center in this draft, and he can even play any position. Look, he played guard for Oregon for a little bit, and he even played defensive tackle. Okay, he's a very, very mean player. He's very aggressive. He's very, very strong. And he is just overall everything that you would want from an offensive lineman. And, when I'm looking at different mock drafts, I'm seeing a lot of wide receiver. I'm seeing a lot of offensive tackles, a lot of defensive linemen. And I know me personally, when I'm looking at this draft in the first round, I want big guys. Okay. The Jaguars' trenches were awful last year, especially in December. I mean, you saw what happens when your trenches are bad. Okay. No run game. Your quarterback was getting hit like crazy. And the defense just couldn't stop anybody in the run game. Okay. It was gross negligence on Balky's part to kind of put the trenches out the way it was, and we just weren't a mean team. We were a soft team. We weren't physical at all. So that to me is what this offseason is all about. Make sure that your trenches are fortified to where you don't have your quarterback suffering injuries, where your offense actually has a run game, but then you can kind of get things moving. So for me, I want offensive linemen. I don't, whoever the top guy is, I would love to have Jackson Powers Johnson. I got to get used to saying that name. When I kept thinking his name in my head, I kept thinking Jackson Austin Powers, which definitely isn't his name, but Jackson Powers Johnson. Okay, JPJ. I like that one a little bit more. So yeah, for me, right now, my favorite guy to think about in this draft is JPJ. Okay. So we'll see how this shakes up. Lots of moves for the Jaguars that happen. We're still, a few weeks away from, actually over a month away from free agency. So got a lot of time to kind of think about it, but I kind of wanted to get this video out there, get an early little draft talk going. And I'm kind of curious with you guys. Who do you guys want the Jaguars to draft? Are you an offensive tackle Guyton guy? Do you want the Keon Coleman from FSU? Where are you leaning for this upcoming draft with the Jacksonville Jaguars? I love hearing from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring. Like I said, guys, UCF Jag will double your first deposit. Okay. Helping out the sponsor helps out the channel too. So thank you guys for continuing to make me one of the top spots for Jaguars talk. Go Jags.